Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a wild Call of Duty video for you because Activision just admitted that they were wrong about Black Ops 7 and wrong about several things in Call of Duty in general, and they're changing the back-to-back release schedule. I know that I'm supposed to be quitting COD and moving on to other games and doing different stuff with my life, but I'm still trying to cover gaming news, and this year the news around Call of Duty has been so big that it's properly mainstream news and it's still interesting to me, so I have to dip my toe in the pool a little bit and just talk about this colossal shakeup that's happening in Activision in regards to the Call of Duty brand. So right off the rip, they put out a press statement that in a TLDR essentially admits that Activision made mistakes with Call of Duty Black Ops 7 and seems to admit that they've made mistakes with the brand in general. And the impression that I get from this is that the creative destruction of low sales and low player counts for Black Ops 7 has forced changes to take place at the Activision, or at least Call of Duty HQ. But for now, let me go ahead and briefly read the statement from the team. I'm going to skip the introductory sentence, and it starts with, after that, Call of Duty has enjoyed long-standing success because of you, a passionate community that demands excellent and deserves nothing less. We know that for some of you, the franchise has not met your expectations fully. To be very clear, we know what you expect, and rest assured we will deliver and over-deliver on those expectations moving forward. That's the end of the first paragraph, and I gotta admit, like, in terms of PR speak, that is a shocking amount of eating humble pie here. That is, for big corporate press releases, that is very self-demeaning. To have any kind of thing negative in there is very shocking. Moving along, it says, with respect to Black Ops 7, we set out our sights to deliver a spiritual successor to Black Ops 2, and the studios have poured their passion into making a great game that we're very proud of, but it's one thing to say it, and more importantly, it's up to you to try it and judge it for yourselves. So as it relates to Black Ops 7 and the future of Call of Duty, here's some more important notes. Firstly, they point out that everybody will have an opportunity to try Black Ops 7 for free very soon. There is a free play weekend that also coincides with Double XP weekend happening. It says next week. My production times are a little slow, so by the time you see this video, it'll probably be free to play. Section 2, it says, we are committed to unprecedented seasonal support, and they talk about how Season 1 is just the beginning. They're bringing a lot of content, which is objectively true. Lots of content is coming in Season 1, and they're going to continue to bring that support throughout the life cycle of the game. I think they just didn't want fans to believe that the game was being shut down or would no longer be supported. And then finally, this is kind of where it gets crazy. The last point they have, it says, our strategy going forward is changing. We will no longer do back-to-back press releases of Modern Warfare or Black Ops games. The reasons are many, but the main one is to ensure that we provide an absolutely unique experience every year. We will drive innovation that is meaningful, not incremental, and while we aren't sharing those plans today, we look forward to doing so when the time is right. And it ends with a little, I'm just paraphrasing here, about building the next era of Call of Duty and delivering on precisely what people want. So I would like to break down this statement section by section, and we're going to start off with a couple of little things because we can do them pretty quickly. First thing that's important to note is that probably by the time you're watching this video, Black Ops 7 is going to be free to play, or maybe free to play just a few days after. Content is going to continue to roll out for Black Ops 7 for mid-season updates, battle passes, etc. The message broadly seems to accept some sort of responsibility for the failure of Black Ops 7 and states that there won't be back-to-back releases anymore, meaning that the same franchise releases, as in 2 Modern Warfares and then 2 Black Opses in a row, won't be happening, but it does look like that Call of Duty will still have a game coming out annually. Oh, and there's a tease at the end of some of these innovative changes that we don't get to know anything about. So I do want to point out that a lot of this is being driven by the relative lack of success for Black Ops 7. It's doing pretty good on console for now. It's doing good because of Xbox Game Pass, #1 on Game Pass. And compared to most games, Call of Duty is still going well, but it has been outshined this year by Battlefield and by Arc Raiders, and it kind of has diminished from the prominence that it had before, both in sales and player count and view numbers and a lot of things like that. I'm going to try to do this video without bagging on the game too bad, because don't care to do that. And instead, before we dive into the details, I would like to give a shout out to my sponsor, Logitech G, and their brand new A20X headset. If you're a console gamer, this is the best headset on the market. It works with every console and PC, and it can do Bluetooth, and the microphone is god tier. I've done a couple of reviews if you want to check it out. Links are down there below in the description, and code Drifter will save you 5% off. Back to the main commentary, I think it's extremely rare to see a multi-billion-dollar Microsoft subsidiary like Activision eat this much humble pie and own up to their mistakes. The only game studio that I could think of recently that has done something like this is Bungie, when they saw the overwhelmingly negative response to Marathon and decided to delay that game by, if I'm not mistaken, a year, maybe even more than a year, to polish it and make sure that it is good on launch. Now, before I move into the next set of statements, I want to clarify that I have never worked in public relations, but I have done a lot of corporate work, and I know that a lot of the PR strategies overlap with political philosophies, which in the modern era, one of the prevailing ones that is quite successful, you see it in our current administration, of course, is never admitting that you were wrong, even if you were objectively wrong, even if they got you on camera with your hand in the cookie jar and got DNA evidence on the cookies. It's AI did it. It's fake. You never admit that you're wrong, because when you admit that you're wrong, you would think that people want to forgive you, but really they're kind of coming for blood. I've had that mistake or had that experience here on YouTube a whole bunch of times. It's like, oh, you're wrong? Well, what penance are you going to pay? So it's really rare for a corporation to sort of take responsibility and acknowledge that they have made any mistakes. I don't see that a lot in the Western world, and I admit that in this video they acknowledge their mistakes in a very soft, very cleverly worded, public relations friendly kind of way, but it was still just utterly shocking to me, and it goes against some of the more pessimistic predictions that I made years ago and even recently in my video about Black Ops 7 being a disaster, where I talked about I didn't think that there would be a failure big enough for changes to be implemented, that the people in control of the studios and the corporations would not learn from their mistakes, and more likely, as it is in our corporate culture, just find somebody lower down the totem pole to punish, and that there might not be enough pressure to make meaningful changes in Call of Duty. I was very pessimistic that this could happen, but it looks like I'm about to have to eat my own humble pie and be wrong, because the mistakes were made and Activision seems intent on learning from them. So that's some of the shorter things. One of the longer ones is that they're no longer doing back-to-back releases, which is definitely a good thing for the franchise. And by back-to-back, we're talking about how Modern Warfare 2 and 3 came out back-to-back and they were exhausting, and how Black Ops 6 and 7 came out back-to-back and that was also exhausting. Exclusive Ace made a whole video about this almost like 6 months ago, and he was talking about how it makes the players feel like they're not getting a break from the game, that the next experience that they purchased isn't meaningfully different than the first one, and sometimes makes them feel like they're not getting anything new at all, but perhaps something more like an anniversary update, especially if the games are running on the same engine. And the back-to-back release schedules seem to increase franchise fatigue more than it already is, and this is Call of Duty we're talking about, so there's plenty of franchise fatigue here with 25, 26 something annual releases, but doing back-to-back sequels has kind of strained the player base. There's no way that doing back-to-back releases is good for studios either. It puts them in constant crunch time. It makes them have to share and recycle and reuse resources, because you have to have a whole nother game ready the very next year, and there's not often time for incremental engine upgrades either. So giving the studios longer breaks between productions that they have to publish or go gold with should, in theory, increase quality for the Call of Duty franchise. Speaking of the franchise, Call of Duty is still going to release annually. By back-to-back releases, we're just talking about concurrent sequels. We're not talking about Call of Duty releases. I think that continuing to release annually is a big oversight, because all it does is reshuffle the studios back to the 2 or 3 year product cycle, which kind of didn't work out that well in the past. The annual release of Call of Duty does contribute to its fatigue. That's why Battlefield and Arc Raiders are much better to, easier to build hype around, because they're newer and newer interest, and the audience has had a longer break from the previous Battlefield product. And I genuinely believe, and I've said this for years and years, and I guess I'll continue saying it until I'm truly blue in the face, that Call of Duty badly needs 1 or 2 fully off years and they just support the one game that's out, or they need to swap to every other year releasing a game like Battlefield does, because I've seen this time and time and time again over 20-something Call of Duty games. The developers just do not have time to finish these gargantuan games that need a campaign and a multiplayer and a zombies and an extraction experience and all this, like 25 maps of DLC and stuff. They just cannot crank that out in the allotted amount of time. And I think it would be better for the franchise in the very long run to do every other year releases. But that goes against Activision's profit model, which does heavily rely on annual Call of Duty sales. And I would say that shareholders don't like it, but I suppose that's their shareholder daddy, Microsoft, that won't like it. They want those cash flows to continue. That's why you purchase a mature business to begin with. So I doubt that they're going to ease up on the annual release schedule, even though that would be a good idea. Guys, that's all of the important parts of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something useful. I'm just kind of shocked that this development came out. I had zero expectations for this. I'm kind of scrambling to get a video ready today. I have no idea what this means for the future of Call of Duty, but I think it's going to be a good thing. Drifter out.